Hey, how's it going? Druidman here, and today's video is going to be my patch 10.2.6 Demonology Warlock guide. Today we're going to cover talents, stat priority, gear choices, and more. Everything presented in this video is backed by years of experience of playing at level 30, as well as live data from rating, the hardest difficulties, and obviously the easiest difficulties. And of course, mostly everything is backed by sim data and under the assumption you are building your character for rating, although a lot of this video will still apply to stuff like dungeons and other areas of gameplay. First, we're going to go over my talents. These are the best single target talents that you can use. There are other talents which are useful in certain situations, but this is what you're going to ideally go for single target fights for rating. Keep in mind that this has been simmed and this has been tested. Obviously this also depends on your gear. Like for my gear set, which obviously I'm going to get into soon, this is what works for me. As your gear changes as well, as your gear changes, your talents will change as well. Like if you are someone that sims your character quite frequently. But feel free to copy this. I will put a talent string in the description box below. Okay, next we're going to get into stat priority. I think it's a no-brainer that main stat is king, so of course where you can prioritize main stat over secondary stats. Next you're going to go with haste mastery. Try at least get about 20% haste. I'm currently playing around 23% haste, and that works for me. I do have a high level of verse and crit, despite the fact in your stat priority technically you should be going haste mastery and then verse or crit, which are quite equal in terms of stat ways. But the reason why I have a high level of verse, as you can see on the screen, is due to the fact some of this gear, as you can see here, is well, I don't think you can see on screen, so I'm going to add it right now. Some of this PvP gear is actually bugged, and rather than giving the verse it states on the tooltip, it's giving more. So for example, my helmet and chest gives 57 verse plus 3 sockets plus crit, and for that reason you'll see I will go with crit verse on some of these pieces, just because you get more value out of the number of secondaries you're getting from verse crit, opposed to just putting on a haste mastery chest. So to make that more simple, if I have a chest that gives 20 haste, 20 mastery, I'd rather choose the chest that gives me 57 verse and 20 crit, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's gonna be your stat priority. Demo Warlock is quite interesting in a sense. This is the one class that, you know, as you start to get towards your Abyss gear, all the secondary stats starts to become similar, quite equal. Like there's no wrong answer by going, like if you want to choose 3 crit over 3 haste, it's like they're quite equal and it won't impact your damage as much. But ideally try and go with haste or mastery, and obviously with the exceptions of some of these PvP pieces, which, you know, I've shown you on the screen now. And of course there are exceptional items. As being an experience locked character, you're gonna have special unique items. So you will go haste mastery where you can, but there are exceptions. For example, your offhand, because you get a higher amount of haste verse on the offhand than you would with any other piece of gear, you would go with the offhand I've shown you on screen. That will be in the description box below too. The weapon as well, the Blade of Eternal Darkness, yes, it has haste verse, but because of the special effect, which is actually quite a good amount of damage, you're going to want to go for that as well. And trinkets are obviously going to fall into this exception as well, because, you know, you're going to want to go for spell power trinket procs. Like the Phylactery of the Nameless Lich has baseline crit on it, which is not a stat you're looking for, but you're looking for the proc. So yeah, and then for my cape, any items that you find like this, where it has triple secondary stat, this is going to take precedent over the haste mastery stat priority. Okay, next we're going to go over gems and enchants. This is quite simple. You're going to go with you're going to want to go with main stat where you can on all your pieces. The only interesting one would be the weapon, where, you know, people might have different opinions about what's best. For my character, for my single target damage, I have simmed and I found that the 15 spell power was the best enchant for me. Obviously you can do different ones depending on the kind of gameplay you're trying to go for, but if you want to maximize single target damage, you should go with the plus 15 spell power onto weapon. I'm gonna put a link in the description for all the enchants. As for gems, you're gonna want to go with +2 main stat and +2 mastery. Keep in mind, if you don't have at least 20% haste, maybe then you should then do +2 int and +2 haste until you get the gear that allows you to have 20% mastery haste. Okay, now for trinkets. I'm gonna give you a few selection of trinkets you can use just in case you don't get your best in slot trinket, or if you want to experiment with different trinkets for different situations. So let's go through them now. So for the first trinket, you have Solace of the Fallen. This trinket is exceptionally good because obviously it gives you main stat and you have 100% uptime on, I believe it's 56 verse. This trinket never falls off, so this is an exceptional choice. I used this for a long time before I switched to my current trinkets, so this is something definitely worth considering. I'll have all the sources for where these trinkets come from in the description box below. The second trinket we have here is the Flesh Render's Meat Hook, which comes from the first boss of Iron Dogs. It's an exceptional choice. I would highly recommend it if you want a on-use build where you're trying to like stack up heroism, power infusion, haste trinket. You can do some crazy amount of burst damage. A few other options here, which I'm gonna talk about. You have Shifting Narrow Silver, which is good if you're on a fight where you don't have to move as much. Dying Curse is also a good option. Maraudon Spyglass is good for consistency. Fizzlebank's Folly is a trinket that doesn't proc as much, but it gives a lot of mastery and it's a unique trinket of its kind, so you could go with that. If you want to do some funky gameplay, you can go with the Black Book from Blackwing Lair. It buffs your pets, gives them attack power for 30 seconds. But yeah, those are your options. Okay, now for rotation wise, Demo Warlock is quite straightforward. You're gonna want to start with precasting Demon Bolt before any fight begins. You're just gonna want to make sure you use your Cowl Dreadstalkers on cooldown and your Demonic Strength, which is the Pet Blade Storm, and then you're just gonna be spamming Shadow Bolts and spending 3 of your shards on Hand of Gul'dan and using Demon Bolt procs where possible. Keep in mind that the start of the fight is the most important because this is where both your trinkets are ideally going to proc, as well as the meta gem, which I will show on screen now, which actually gives 508 haste for 4 seconds, making it extremely overpowered when you stack it with your trinkets in the opener with, you know, Bloodlust, Power Infusion, and whatever other kind of buffs or things you can think of. But yeah, Demon Warlock's pretty good. It's actually on the S tier. I think it's actually side by side with Arcane Mage. I've tested Arcane Mage and Demon Warlock, and it does the exact same amount of single target DPS. Funny enough, but yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I can't think of much else. But yeah, I mean, obviously you have your utility and so on, but you know, you can use that at your own discretion. Okay, great. So that was my short and concise tutorial on what you should do as a Demo Warlock. I could have kept talking for at least 45 minutes and given a breakdown on the talent choices and the gear and the whys and the hows, but you know, I just wanted to make it as simple as possible. So if you do want to have that information and understand why I've chosen what I've chosen, feel free to message me on the Discord in Legacy 30. My name is the Druidman, or you can post a comment below and I'll try to get back to you. But this is my first tutorial, so let me know how I did, and if you give me some feedback, hopefully the next few guides that I should be doing should be better. But yeah, I hope that helps you guys, and enjoy your characters.